What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down some major pieces of news that just came out as Tesla has adjusted some of their Model Y and Model 3 prices. I'm going to break down some things involving Elon Musk, what's going on with the overall market, and how all of this may affect Tesla as I give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow. Now, before I break anything down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks, each worth up to $3,000. And the best part is, any could be a free Tesla share. You'll also have free level 2 data with $0 in commission trading. So check it out before they run out. The offer ends in just 9 days. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So anyways, Tesla was up about 0.91% for the day on Friday, and overall we are in still a very nice uptrend. The MACD is still wide open, and even though the RSI is technically a little bit overbought, it does not matter a whole ton in my opinion, because Tesla still has some nice momentum. And I do believe that this thing is still primed for more upside, at least for the short term. However, I do have to note that the market, in my opinion, is in a topping process. So this upside might not last forever, guys. And you have to be prepared for the opposite direction to come later on. So I'm going to break down more specific details about that, but I want to talk about the news first. The first thing is Tesla did adjust some of its prices again, and the Model Y went up and the Model 3 did go down. I want to note something important about this though, and that's the fact that you need to know the specific details about this before coming to a conclusion. Tesla actually saw a big cut of about $13,000 for the Model Y first, and now they are actually increasing prices by about $500. So it's actually a very small increase. And then we had another increase just very recently by about 1,500. So they're only increasing these prices by a few thousand, nothing too major, especially after the fact that this did qualify for another EV tax credit. So I don't consider this that bad. And I want to actually track the inventory levels as the days go on. But so far, it's not really that bad. It's just a 2,000 increase in total compared to like the 13,000 cut. Once again, it still is a lot lower than where it used to be. And then we also saw the Model Y performance being a little bit more expensive. And the Model 3, I believe this actually saw adjustments to in a very similar manner. Now, in my honest opinion, once again, we can't say too much until we see the data. And as of right now, looking at inventory levels, we're still seeing it come down pretty hard. This is a big sign that the price cuts, the overall price cuts, are still benefiting Tesla. Just like what happened in China, Tesla absolutely outperformed many of their competitors for the month of January, and the price cuts, in my opinion, played a big role in that. Teslas are not only big brands over there and all over the world, but on top of that, seeing the big price cuts also entices a lot more buyers and more competitors to actually play a big role in helping Tesla. Because now the competitors are like, okay, Tesla's cutting prices, are we going to do it too? It leads to a lot more competitive pricing, and also it helps Tesla really stand out compared to the other crowds. And on top of that, we also saw the jury find that Elon Musk is not liable in securities fraud for the trial for his funding secured tweets. This is also a very big piece of news. I know this actually already came out on Friday, but it actually came out a few hours after the market closed. I'm saying this because now that the news came out, I think Tesla has even more potential for a push up because of this. And I think that this is really outweighing a lot of the bad news that also came out this weekend. The news cycle was not necessarily the best. There are some increasing tensions between the United States and China, especially after the whole balloon incident that took place. And there are still continuations of it in other parts of the world, and tensions are still rising. So I'd still be very careful with the market for the time being. But as of right now, we don't have confirmation of the market really reversing just yet, but we do have some catalysts that could really move how the market performs. So I want to talk about this because we have Pinterest coming out on Monday after the market closes. We have Hertz on Tuesday, but the bigger days are Wednesday and Thursday for earnings. We have Walt Disney after the market closes. Disney is going to be pretty big, and then PayPal on Thursday is going to be one of the big ones too. So we do have some big earnings, not as huge as last week. And for the economic calendar, we actually have Jerome Powell speaking on Tuesday at 12:40 p.m. So please be ready. He will likely cause a move in the markets. And in my opinion, if he does actually maintain the same type of language that he had in the past, it could actually pump the markets again. Not guaranteeing it, but it is a possibility. And I want everyone to be prepared for that just in case. Now, even if the market does get another pump this week, I want everyone to be very, very cautious. All right. And I know people get annoyed with me saying this, but I'm saying this based off the data. Right now, the market is very, very greedy. Okay. The market's in extreme greed mode. And we know this is not typically the best of times to be buying because of the fact that this often marks tops or near the peaks in the market. This chart right over here shows you we're at one of the highest levels of greed. We're actually seeing a divergence right here. The greed is super high right now, and that's despite the fact that we're actually at a lower high compared to the previous high in August. And typically when we see greed get this high, this often marks tops. So I do believe the market is in a topping process. I just don't know if the market has peaked already or if we're about to form one final peak. I believe it's very likely, though, that the market has more room going into this week. I'm going to show you that in just a couple of minutes. The final thing I'm going to talk about is the unemployment data. The unemployment rate right now is at one of the lowest levels we've seen since the 1960s. And this is important because when unemployment is this low before another tightening cycle, what tends to happen is it starts to gradually increase. And this actually leads to more tightening, more restricted policies, which do lead to downside in the stock market. I do believe this year has some downside to come later on. I don't think that we're all done with the whole bear market. So I want to warn everyone about this for the future. Please be ready as unemployment does start to tick up because of the rate hikes. It will likely have a negative effect on the stock market later on. And it's not just unemployment, it's also the tightening, the earnings recession, and the compression of our entire economy. So please be ready for that in the future. I just wanted to note that because the latest jobs numbers that are coming out, they're still a little bit too hot, and it isn't incentivizing the Fed to be a little bit more on the hawkish side. Tesla's getting some nice volume, 232 million, well above average. There are lots of motivated buyers still coming into this stock. And also, the short volume percentage has actually come down a little bit. So the shorts are actually losing the edge over the stock. People that are buying like crazy are gaining more and more power over it. And I do believe the amount of buying coming in could actually help Tesla even more. I want to note that the price pairs ratio is continuing to climb to the upside, showing signs of Tesla really outperforming the market on a consistent basis. And this is a very, very good trend Tesla is on. On top of that, Berenberg, the analyst, is also very bullish on Tesla, giving it another buy rating. And historically, Mondays tend to be very good days for Tesla. We're green about 52% of the time. On Tuesdays, we're green about 51% of the time. So we are at a better time of the week for Tesla. I'm hoping we get a nice continuation of this. But I also want to note, like I mentioned in my previous videos, February tends to be a weaker time for the stock market. Tesla's only green about 38% of the time on February's. So please be ready for that. Okay, this is a very historical trend, and seeing the market pumping the way it is, I do believe we are in the topping process. I also want to note that for Tesla, looking at that hourly seasonality, we tend to start off very slow. We tend to see more volume come in later on by the second hour. It tends to slow down by the third, and then during the final hours, Tesla tends to be a little bit stronger during those uptrends. So please be ready for that. It's typically a slow starter throughout the day. But if anything, it still has the power and the potential to push the markets. The overall short interest is still relatively high. It is a little bit higher than what we saw over the last couple of days for the week. So there are still some shorts piling in. And we did see a decrease a little bit on Friday. I think some shorts covered their positions. And I do believe we might see an increase in this short interest. Many of the shorts like to hammer Tesla down, and they are kind of like incentivized to do so the more this thing pushes up, especially because of how greedy the market is. We know that's not always the best of signs. So what's going on with Tesla? What on earth is happening to the share price? I'm going to talk about the market first and then what this could do to Tesla. Like I mentioned before, I'm seeing two things in the market. I believe we are in a topping process, but there's no guarantee that the top is in. I believe there are two possibilities. Okay, the first possibility, which is unlikely, is the top is already in and the market's going to start downtrending from here. This is possible because of the overall candle setup right here, the long wick from Friday, and also because of the fact that the dollar index is starting to break out. Now, when the dollar index breaks out, it's not necessarily confirmed though. Even though it is starting to break out, we need confirmation first. In order to get the confirmation, we have to wait a couple of days. If it keeps breaking out, that's going to be a bearish signal for the stock market. But there's always the possibility that this thing might come down to retest the wedge first before the real breakout starts. So please be ready for that. If that does end up happening, it's not going to be the best. Also, the 10-year treasury yield also, I think it bounced off very close to where this 200 EMA is, and also it bounced off previous support. So if the yield keeps pushing up, which I think it might start doing soon, that could also be bearish for the markets. But I'm going to break down the context of this in just 1 second. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to talk about what this means for Tesla. But first, I want to talk about the QQQ as well. On the QQQ, this thing is very close to essentially filling this gap right here. So I do think that some of the tech stocks out there might come down a little bit. I do think the market might come down just a little bit and maybe get a really nice bounce and get one last push, very similar to SPY. That's just my honest opinion. I don't think that we fully topped here, even though it is possible. I think that the RSI and the MACD being wide open right here and the RSI not being completely overbought is telling me we might come down a little bit more, maybe fill this gap or come very close to doing it. And I think that because there's so many buyers still stepping in and because the market is still very greedy, there wasn't enough news to really kill the sentiment. So I'm predicting that, look, we might come down a little bit and then we might get a really nice bounce. And maybe Powell, who speaks on Tuesday, might pump the markets one last time. I just don't know for sure, but it is possible we get one last big push to form our final top. And this, in my opinion, would be a very good gift for people to maybe try to exit positions or even start shorting. It's just my opinion, not financial advice. And I think this will have a big effect on how the collective market and Tesla ends up moving. For SPY, I mentioned to you guys, we either already saw the top here or we're going to form another new top this week. Here's what I'm watching for. So I think it's unlikely, once again, that we're going to start crashing from here, looking at what the technicals are showing us. I think there's more room for the market to keep going. So I think that we're going to come down a little bit. We have to cool off just a little bit more for Monday, and we're going to find a bottom. Then the buyers should step in. We're going to get a really nice bounce. And I'm anticipating us to break this high and maybe go for the gap right here. There's a gap at around 422 on SPY. I think somewhere close to 422 to the high from like August, 422 to 428 is where the final top will be, in my opinion. And seeing how many buyers step in, I think it's very possible. And I think this could also help Tesla. But you also have to remember it depends on the news as well. Okay, there are some tensions between the US and China, but as of right now, it's not too horrible to kill sentiment. And I still believe in the potential. Now, for the VIX, I just want to note that the VIX did end up coming down. We got a nice bounce off that 17 level, but then we did come right back down. I think the VIX is set for maybe some consolidation, but very soon it's going to start retesting the top of this falling wedge it's on and maybe get a breakout soon. I think maybe within the next 2 weeks, the VIX is going to be above 20 and it's going to really start flying by the time we get closer to March, in my opinion. And I think CPI might be the thing that triggers it because you have to remember, according to the data, we have 517,000 jobs 517,000 jobs with hiring that happened just in the month of January. There's a very strong possibility CPI might be high because of that. And that could be the thing that spooks the markets. But I'm talking a little bit more forward and more like longer term. Let's talk a little bit about Tesla for the short term. So, what I'm seeing for Tesla is this. I think Tesla has some really, really nice momentum. If you look at the MACD, it's still wide open. This thing looks like it's going to keep going. I don't really care way too much about the RSI being kind of overbought. It still shows strength on Tesla's end. And I believe the good news that came out is going to help Tesla. Now, what I'm picturing are two possibilities. So I'm going to break out the bullish, the bearish possibility, and then what I think is going to happen. All right. And I want to note that I can't always predict the news cycles. Sometimes unexpected pieces of news could come. So I can't predict anything perfectly, but I just want to note this. The first thing is if you are a bull, we're going to likely see this thing get a retest of this 198 to 200 level. And if it breaks this, this is a very key supply zone. If Tesla breaks 200, we have the potential to fly all the way up to the 200 EMA to hit the low 200s. That's very, very possible. It could happen a lot sooner. I also believe that Tesla will outperform the market, so I don't expect it to come tumbling down as hard, but that's the more bullish possibility. Now, if there's a bad piece of news, the bearish possibility is going to be first off this gap fill all the way down here and a retest of 180. If it fails at 180, you have to watch these lower levels down here. You have to watch this 178 level. Then you have all the way to this 171.4 area. So watch those very carefully if we come down. Now, what do I think is going to happen? And that's actually different from both of these. I think that the market's going to pull back a little bit, and I think Tesla is going to get dragged down just a little bit, right? However, I'm not seeing any bad news as of right now, and I'm thinking a lot of buyers are going to keep on stepping in. I'm seeing that, look, the market might pump a little bit after the pullback. And I think Tesla won't pull back as much because Tesla has been outperforming the market. So I'm predicting that for Monday, Tesla's going to come down just a little bit, maybe retest this like 185 area. And we might not fill this gap. We might come very close to doing so. And even if we do, I'm anticipating a really nice bounce for Tesla to see lots of buyers, especially as we get closer to Tuesday. And the buyers are going to likely push this thing all the way back up to the 200. And this time we're going to fight it and fight it to the point where we actually break 200. And I'm thinking the market might get one final big push. As I mentioned, the S&P 500, the SPY, the QQQ, these things have more room. And if Tesla breaks 200, we do have room to come flying to very close to like 215, 216 around the 200 EMA. I think Tesla could do it. And then after that, things could change completely depending on CPI. But like I said, I'm still more bullish than bearish on Tesla for the short term because we do have some nice looking technicals and more good news than bad news, in my opinion. Like I said before, as of right now, at the time of recording this, there's no major horrible piece of news to really shake the markets. There are some increasing tensions between the United States and China. As of right now, it's not too bad. But like I said, it's not that bad. I think the market's going to pull back just a little bit before getting another nice bounce and one last big push, which might be fueled by Jerome Powell himself, that's speaking on Tuesday, very, very close to about 1 p.m. for Eastern time. So please be ready for it. It's very important. For Tesla's end, I know there was a slight price adjustment. I don't think this is that big. Hopefully, this does not affect Tesla too much. And then the news about Elon Musk being found not liable is very good news for Tesla investors. I think we're more likely to see Tesla outperform the market tomorrow and see another, I would say maybe a somewhat flat day depending on when we bounce. But I do believe that if we do come down to fill this gap, or if we do pull back just a little bit, like I said, whether we stop at 185 or even if we fill the gap, I still think Tesla's going to get a nice bounce. Eventually, it could happen as soon as Monday or going into Tuesday, and then get a really, really nice bounce and come all the way back up to 200 either by Tuesday, maybe a little bit after that. So I'm still inclined to seeing more upside potential. Once again, guys, do not let the FOMO get into your head. I'm saying that because I'm still uncertain in a way, and I don't fully trust this rally because the market is super greedy. The dollar looks like it might try to break out soon. The VIX is going to have a breakout most likely very soon as well. And I think the market is in a topping process. Could Tesla push up more? Yes. Could the markets keep pushing up more? Yes, going into this week. But I do believe very soon the markets are going to form a top, and then we could get shaken by some piece of news or something else that comes out, and lots of the shorts are going to be piling back in my opinion. That's like my future prediction for like next week and beyond. I just want to note that, okay? So I hope that's as clear as possible. I think the markets have more room to push up. I think Tesla has more room to push up, and we are going to be forming a top very, very soon, at least for this rally. Please be ready, guys. Remain calm, cool, and collected. Enjoy your weekend. Please enjoy the Pro Bowl or whatever sports events are out there. Enjoy life. Spend time with people you love. Have an absolutely amazing rest of the weekend. Thank you, Tesla to the moon, because the long-term future is still incredibly bright. And peace out.